The Mar-a-Lago raid is also topping headlines ahead of the midterms. According to analysts, that is not necessarily a good thing for the GOP. Fox's Brit Hume writes this: Republicans need to understand that while Trump motivates a significant segment of the GOP base, he motivates all of the Democrats' base and a large portion of independents who might otherwise vote GOP. No one better to ask about this than our panel, former Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway and former Clinton pollster Mark Penn. When I was awake in the night, Kellyanne and Mark, I was thinking about this whole issue and thought, well, I can go back to sleep because these two are going to help me understand it when I wake up in the morning. Just two tweets from Ben Shapiro I want to read to you. Basically, yesterday he came out and said, this means that when Trump is attacked, Republicans immediately return to making him the centerpiece of the conversation, and this harms them electorally, as every poll is now showing, and that there is a reason Democrats are eager to keep Trump at the center of the conversation. Republicans shouldn't play that game. If they do, they're cruising for a bruising. Kellyanne, how do you see it?
I looked at the Fox News poll, Dana. The most recent one shows that independents heavily align with the Republican Party on the following issues by the following margins: crime by 38%, border security 35%, inflation 27%, even the opioid crisis 9%. And these independents in the Fox News poll align with Democrats by 7% on abortion and 8% on climate, so the single-digit advantage. So, look, independents were some of the first to refuse to pledge their allegiance to Biden. I think when you saw the erosion of his overall polling numbers early on in his presidency, it was because independents who had supported him for president were starting to migrate away from him. Dana, this is very simple for me. When Trump is the leader of the party, when he's involved in the conversation in the election, in the 2018 midterms, you had 4 pickups from blue to red. It is the first time since John Kennedy in 1962 that a president in power's party picked up a single Senate seat in a midterm election, and they picked up 4. The other thing, and this is important, I mean, the party in power has only done this 4 times since 1934 in the midterms, and Trump was one of them in 2018, right after the very bruising, very brutal, and frankly, fundamentally unfair battle over the Kavanaugh nomination that happened within a month that election. Quickly, let me just end with this. Those who want to move on from Trump, you go first. People are so obsessed with him, they don't spend a minute learning what the 74 million Trump-Pence voters want in these midterm elections. That's what I study every single day. But they're so obsessed with Donald Trump. Anybody who wants the party to move on from Trump, I dare you go first. And anytime the Democrats tell you which Republican should be your nominee, run in the other direction, because they know that they're fixing to make that person unpalatable.
Okay, so Mark, this weekend my husband asked me if this recent momentum and last week's special election in New York would, for the Democrats, is like when a really terrible football team wins one game and people all of a sudden think they're going to win the Super Bowl. So I turn over to you. What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think these current races were a little bit more evidence that when it comes to a Republican landslide, I have to say not so fast, okay? And why do I say that? Look, the previous election and the generic horse race basically show the country split 50-50. So that means if the Republicans are really going to have a landslide or pick up, they have to pick up voters who voted Democratic last time. Sure, they have their Republican base. They have the strong independent support, as Kellyanne notes, but they've got to pick up people who voted Democratic. Now, the president's rating is only about 40%. So that means there's a very hefty group, 10%, who voted for the president last time who don't like him this time. Why aren't they flocking? They care about inflation, they care about crime, they care about immigration. They're not flocking because of Donald Trump, guns, and abortion. Those 3 are Democratic core issues for them. And so that's why this race is right now a lot closer than you would normally expect it to be, given how these issues have spun out of control and given how low Joe Biden really is.
Super interesting, as always, and I will sleep better tonight having these thoughts in my head. Kellyanne and Mark, thank you. Have a great Tuesday.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.